right, I'm here now. Let me see. Like I said, when there's such thing as late for me. All right. These things in there. All right. Yeah. Hey, boy. I see you there, brother. All right.
Those of us that indulge in or commit intellectual violence don't do so for the pleasure of mental masturbation or ego diddling. We do so because it changes an impression in our people's minds that are deep and difficult to remove.
Good morning, my children of the sun. Welcome to the Open Eye on WHGE 95.3 FM. I'm your host, Third Eye Optometrist, Patrice Gibbs. Ready to get them started. Are you ready? Hey, listen, someone asked me, I hope you're listening. Someone asked me for our phone number. It's 844-944-3953. If you got the nerve, call in. That's right, because I'm not playing. No, I'm gonna start right here, and then I'm going to then I'm gonna play our disclaimer. What are we dealing with here? What are we dealing with in America? Racists and bigots and cowards. Taxpayer-funded street gang. Right here, right? Here's our disclaimer.
The views and opinions expressed on the Open Eye are those of the host, guests, and contributors and do not reflect the policy or position of WHGE 95.3 FM nor our sponsor, the Delaware Center for Homeless Vets. Any content provided by Open Eye's hosts, guests, or contributors are theirs and are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, company, or individual.
First question I got this morning, and it's a question that I'm going to repeat time and time again until the situation is corrected. Why is white supremacist propagandist supreme Tucker Carlson, who has blood on his hands from influencing people to run out and murder black people, why is he not in jail? Tucker Carlson belongs in jail. Don't get that mixed. Don't get that mixed. Because that SOB, everything he has done on his show has been about stirring up white supremacists to participate in the terrorism that is their tradition. Because it is. That's their tradition. White supremacy. Suki, I forgot something. That's all right. Okay. Well, like I always tell you, I like to start off with some history. All right. And one of the things I'm going to start off with here, and I want to thank Sister Tracy for posting this. This country was created through violence, built on violence, and maintains itself on violence. They couldn't count on two hands how many years they have lived without violence. The problem is now everyone knows it. Let me tell you something about the history of American violence. America is what, almost 250 years old, not quite. It's like around 245 years old. Of those 245 years, America has been at war at least 240 years. This is who these people are. You know? Of course, like I said, always check out our history. I'm going to start with John Berry Meacham. Have you ever heard of him? He was black land in Missouri. Missouri banned education for black people in 1847. John Berry Meacham responded by opening a floating freedom school. He was a businessman, a founder of the oldest black church in Missouri, and a pioneer in education of blacks in that state. And Meacham was born a slave in Goochland, what a hell of a name, Goochland, Virginia. Damn, if I lived there, I think I'd move just because of the name. Jeez, Goochland, Virginia. That sounds like just white supremacist capital. Anyway, his owner, Paul Meacham, moved Meacham to North Carolina and then Kentucky, where Meacham learned several trades. He's a brilliant man, actually, including carpentry. And there he met his future wife, Mary. By the time he was 21, he had earned enough from carpentry to purchase his freedom, and soon after, the freedom of his father. In 1815, before Meacham had earned the necessary funds to purchase his wife's freedom, he was moved to St. Louis. Or she was moved to St. Louis, and he followed her there, and then purchased her freedom. So in St. Louis, Meacham met Mason Peck, a white Baptist missionary who had just moved to the state to start a worship and education center for Native Americans. Peck identified a need for a worship place for blacks and enlisted the help of Meacham. Together, Peck and Meacham built the fledgling church while Meacham continued his trade. Okay? He and his wife also facilitated the Underground Railroad. Now, despite his work to free Missouri slaves and educate blacks, Meacham's views on education and black equality anticipated those of Booker T. Washington. A half-century later, black people needed a practical, hands-on education so that when freedom came, the race would be ready to utilize that freedom. Meacham illustrated this view in an address to the all-colored citizens of the United States, a pamphlet printed in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in 1846. He left a lasting impact on St. Louis. His school educated hundreds of free blacks, slaves, including James Milton Turner, who after the Civil War would found Lincoln Institute, the first school of higher education for blacks in Missouri. The work of Meacham and his wife on the Underground Railroad is now commemorated at the Mary Meacham Crossing in St. Louis, where the two led slaves across the Mississippi River to freedom in Illinois. The first African Baptist church, now the First Baptist Church. Why did they take the African name out of it? Continues to operate in St. Louis. John Berry Meacham died at his pulpit on February 19th, 1854. See, you know what? In those days, black people were not afraid to call themselves African. That's some crap that's come up here in later years and what have you. It's a damn shame that we have become afraid to be who we are. We'll talk some more about that now in a minute. Right now, we're going to take a short break because my co-host is outside. I'll go let him in. There it is. All right. Sookie, that's not it. Okay. Don't worry, I got y'all. Okay. WHGE 95.3, the Open Eye. Fun All Day by Pat Gibbs, yes indeed. WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye. You know, of course, everybody's aware that Russia is at war with the Ukraine. Okay? And one of the reasons that Russia says is, you know, the Ukraine's participation and approval of Nazism. And of course, Western powers say, well, they're just using that for an excuse and this, that, and the other, you know. It's pretty much BS. They're just doing that. They're just saying that. Yeah. Well, let me tell you something. Let me give you a little background on Russia. Remember, Alexander Pushkin, a black man, created Russian literature. Basically, he created the Russian language, the alphabet, the written language that came from a black man in Russia. You know, Russia didn't have a problem with that. And tell you something else about Russia. Russia was never a colonizer in Africa. The Russians never went into Africa and tried to colonize the Africans. That's right. Furthermore, let's go back a little bit. Russia participated in the U.S. Civil War. Okay? Historian Webster Griffin Tarpley tells us about the contribution of Russian Tsar Alexander II to a northern victory in the U.S. Civil War. Now, what Alexander II did in his own country was free the serfs. Okay, those were the peasants that were under pretty much enslavement by Russian nobility, by the Russian aristocracy. And what he said to Lincoln, Tsar Alexander II, was, look, here's what you need to do. Free the slaves and let them fight on your side. And that'll defeat. That will put you in a position to defeat the South. Because the South was kicking the Union's ass. You can believe that. That's a historical fact. Furthermore, Alexander II said that the Imperial Russian government had issued an ultimatum to Britain and France specifying that if those powers intervened on the side of the Confederate States of America, they would kick their ass. They would declare war on Britain and France, who had every intention of supporting the Confederacy against the Union of the United States, the legitimate government of the United States. They had planned to blow up some stuff in New York and San Francisco and this, that, and the other. So the Russian Tsar, Alexander II, he actually sent his Baltic fleet to New York to protect New York from Britain and France. And he let them know at this time, Russia was an empire. You know, this is before the USSR, before the communists and all that mess. You know, he sent the Russian Baltic fleet to New York City. And he sent the Russian Pacific Squadron to San Francisco. And he argued that it was the presence of these fleets that provided the final deterrence. Russia was the only country to extend direct military support to the Lincoln government. Okay? Now, in 2016, Russia submitted a resolution to the United Nations declaring that the world needs to stop Nazism. Because it was a problem in Europe, it's a problem here. What he was basically saying was white supremacy. That's what Putin did. That's what the Russian government did in 2016. Okay? It was voted on at the UN. Most European countries abstained from voting. They wouldn't vote. Of course, most countries in Africa, the Middle East, South America, they all voted in favor of the resolutions. Only 2 countries voted against that resolution. The Ukraine and the United Snakes of America. I'm Patrice Gibbs. This is the Open Eye, WHGE 95.3 FM. All right, how you doing, bro?
Yo, chop. Yo, Vaughn, what's good? Yo, hey, Taz, I see you. Hey, yo, Buckets, hit me up, link up, you know what I mean? Getting popping, you know what I'm saying? Sitting outside before I came to the station. What's up, world? You know what it is. WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye Radio Show. You dig? Mr. Gibbs.
In the house. Oh, yeah.
Yo, I know people be like, yo, we be going rat. Yo, you know what the rat is? That's wake up, you know what I mean? Wake up to the knowledge. Get sprayed up with this wisdom. You dig? For real.
WHGE 95.3 FM. I'm Patrice Gibbs, joined on the air by my partner in consciousness, Nsoromma. What's up, brother?
Yeah,
we ain't been on the air in a minute.
Listen.
Yes,
your
indeed.
boy, yo. Oh, telling you.
Yeah, a lot been going on, brother.
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
A
You know what I'm
lot.
saying?
I forgot my list of the victims in Buffalo. But I ain't forgot the name of Peyton Gendron, who murdered those people, that white supremacist terrorist. And here's the thing. Stop saying he's a lone wolf. This is what the press is putting out there, that he's a lone wolf.
That's crazy if you really think about it. It's like they applaud him for doing that.
Yeah.
They like that. Oh, he really did that. That's good for him. Good for him. You know, that is sick, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this media is just as bad and just as worse because they creating these monsters.
That's what they doing.
You know what I'm
That's
saying?
what I said.
And they making it okay. The police ain't even shooting, ain't
No.
tackling, ain't do nothing.
No.
They walked up to him and hugged him and,
Yeah. Oh, they was
and
tapping
asked
on
him,
the
do you
back.
want some handcuffs? Do you want to be handcuffed in it? I mean,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? That's
Just
we gotta
sick.
stand up as warriors, as black people, and you know, just put our foot down, man.
That's what we
Seriously.
gotta do.
That's just it, you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
That is
I
what
mean,
we gotta do.
every black person's not bad and every white person's not bad, but America is bad.
Yes, it
You
is.
see what I'm saying?
That's why I call it the United Snakes of
Right,
America.
United Snakes of America, because that's who's controlling it and running it right now.
Yeah.
And they making up mostly all the white people look bad in this situation. You know, that's
Just to
crazy.
give you an idea on that.
Wow.
All right. The other day, the Supreme Court, I want to thank Brother Jakeem for this.
Thanks, Brother King. You dig?
The Supreme Court, in a 6-3 vote, decided that evidence of innocence is not enough to have a guilty verdict overturned for a person who's convicted of a crime, even if they were sentenced to death. Let me read that to you again. The Supreme Court, in a 6-3 vote, decided that evidence of innocence, clear-cut evidence of innocence, is not enough to have a guilty verdict overturned for a person who is convicted of a crime. So we don't care if you're innocent or not. We don't care what the evidence says. You've been convicted of the crime. That's it. We got your ass. You sentenced to death. You go.
But you gotta see through that. That's deeper than saying voting that into existence. and it's only for black people. That's not
That's
a white
that's what it's
person thing.
own.
That's
Yeah.
not when they go before the court. White person go before the court. They won't even consider that law in their situation.
Mhm.
That's only when black people go to court
Mhm.
and they feel as though they're going to keep them.
Right.
And that's what that is. This is where the racism lies at. You have to look. You have to see between that.
Mhm.
That's the things that they're saying. They know this. It's not for the white people. White people not worried about that. It should be us. We should be the ones putting our foot down.
Yeah.
And Joe Biden, what is he doing for us?
Oh, well, you know, Joe Biden, what did he do for us? He gave up the executive order.
He bought some crack pipes. That's it, man.
Wait a minute.
That's crazy,
Wait a
man.
minute. He put down the executive order against police brutality on federal police. Okay? This is what you call a nothing burger. Because it don't mean a damn thing to local police. Okay?
That's what I'm saying. They're doing all this inside hide, Nicki Minaj hide stuff. You know what I'm saying? That it's they have to get out of there. I'd rather have Trump in there.
Really?
That's how bad it is right now. Trump is doing way better than he is right now. I'd rather have him running the country and keeping the country tight.
Okay,
so
let me
be able to
I gotta
make some money.
dispute that. Because first of all, Trump was an incompetent idiot. Second of all, Trump not only was he an incompetent idiot, but he's nothing but a con man. And just a really sorry
He's a
son of a
business con man, which is America. America's a business.
Yeah.
And if we don't run it like a
here's the
business,
thing.
people
Nah,
coming across the
you can't run
border.
it like a
I mean,
business.
we are as black people already have no jobs and stuff, and now other immigrants is coming in, all the things that.
Well, you know what? And that's so.
That's messy. This is a messy world right now.
That is messy.
This is a messy world
messy,
right now.
okay?
For black
But
people.
let me tell you what that's about. Okay? And that's, look, we often state that we have to choose the lesser of two evils. And unfortunately, that is the political climate in this country.
I said I'm not Western.
But let us not forget.
Get our own.
Let us not forget that Trump put on the Supreme Court
100 racist judges.
Well, it's only 9 judges.
Oh.
Okay. But he was able to get the Supreme Court in the hands of the conservatives, which is why you got cracked like a 6-3 vote that evidence of innocence is not enough. You know what? This is a disaster for exonerating innocent people.
Right.
How many innocent people have had their cases overturned by the Supreme Court?
How many innocent people still locked up?
Yeah.
You know?
And well, it don't mean a damn thing
Now
when
it don't
it's
mean
6
nothing.
to
They ain't
3.
even going to even go to try to even help them get out.
Right.
That's
That's what
that
this
means.
is about.
That means we don't
Exactly.
care what you say.
Right.
We're not going to
You're
do
not getting
anything
out.
about we
We
feel
got
as though
your
you got
ass.
You got.
We got your ass, and that's it.
See,
Okay.
we the people are the militia, man. We put these people into play.
Mm-hmm.
And just like we put them in, we need to take them out. Just like they bum rush the Capitol, black people have to stand up and bum rush something. If we
Okay,
don't
you
bum
know
rush
what?
nothing,
Here's
we're
the thing
always
about
going
that.
to be tramped on and ran over and treated
And like I
like
often say, okay. Let me say
Oh,
this.
that's crazy.
This
man.
is something here. All right. There's a quote, a line in the movie The Godfather.
right.
All right. And that line is this: blood is a big expense, and blood is an expense that we have overpaid as black people. Okay. Don't get it mixed. We can't run up on the U.S. government. We have to be smart enough to take this thing from the inside out. That's the only way that we can turn this thing around for us, is to take this thing from the inside out. Because America is too arrogant to defend certain parts of its society. And this is the opening for us. But we have to be smart about it. We have to employ Sun Tzu's art of war. And that war says it is not always smart to go against the army. You win the war before a shot is fired. And this is what we have to understand. Because we are outnumbered and outorganized and outgunned. And being outgunned, we have to be smart enough to take the self-esteem from the white supremacists, whose self-esteem is already low. That's why they're so afraid of us. We have to understand the benefits of organizing and unifying. Okay? At the height of our discontent as black people, when we unify at the height of our discontent, we have changed this thing. There's a lot of times I hear people say, well, I couldn't have been no slave, and those slaves were weak and soft, and they let the white man run over them. Well, that's the propaganda that the goddamn white people teach. Ooh, I missed the boot. And it's not so. Because the Delawares in Florida was a major factor in the North realizing that slavery has to end, or these blacks are going to take us down. There were over 200 slave revolts, all ratted out by black people. But don't get it mixed. A lot of those revolts scared the hell out of them white people. And they realized that we can't continue like this, because eventually this man is going to rise up. And that's what we have to understand. We have to unify. See, I hear people say that they are against Pan-Africanism. What is Pan-Africanism? That is the unity of black people all over the world. Not only on the continent of Africa, where they need to get it together. I seen some African morons. Hold up. I seen some African morons say, well, yeah, I live here in Africa, but I'm Ghanaian. I'm not African. Are you out your mind? Okay, you know what Bob Marley said? Bob Marley quoted, Bob Marley was asked, are you Jamaican or African? Bob Marley quoted Marcus Garvey. He said, why would I trade an island for a continent? I'm African. And until we realize that, because when the Europeans, let me tell you something, when the Europeans, okay, come against anybody outside of Europe, I don't care how much they fighting against each other, they will unify and take you on.
That's right.
We need to learn that.
And it's so messy that America is at this point right now, from seeing what we've grown up in, how it has gotten better to a little bit better to how it's gotten back to the worst it can be. You know, it's just crazy, because it's these people that's in position and running for office and, you know, doing all the things that runs America, they're both the same side, one coin. You know? And they vote for the same agenda, no matter if we voting for this party or the opposite party. You know, both of them are going for the same agenda. The paper is already put on the president's desk, and you say this, whoever wins, type of thing. You know what I'm saying? So we have to understand that, and once we get past that, we actually can create our own government as black people. We have that many black people.
Yes, we do.
We can do our own government, our own, all of everything. We don't need this particular structure.
Right.
And plus, they don't even give us the credit to be in the structure.
No.
They call you 3/4 of a person. Okay, so I don't...
3/5.
3/5, still, it's not giving you the whole... You're considered worse than a livestock.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, then. Livestock don't pay taxes. Livestock don't go get jobs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if they putting all these other clauses on us and expecting us to do this, and don't even claim us to be a person that's supposed to do that.
That's what
we're doing that.
Yeah. You know, and like you said, they're putting all these clauses and laws on us. This is not nothing new.
Right.
Okay? You know how far it dates back? It dates back to 1619, where they made laws that were only relevant to black people. For instance, in 1619, I'm going to give you a sampling of laws that were enacted just against black people. In 1619, Maryland segregation policy recommended that blacks be socially excluded. In 1660, Connecticut military law barred blacks from military service. In 1667, British Plantation Act established codes of conduct for slaves and slaveholders. Okay, there was a certain code of conduct that a black person as a slave would have to follow. For instance, in 1715, North Carolina criminalized black and white marriages. And guess what? In 1721, Delaware right here in Delaware,
Right.
marriage law prohibited marriage between black men and white women. Because the worst thing in
And that's
the world,
probably still on the books.
Oh, it probably is,
They
yeah.
probably never took that off.
I doubt
like,
if they did.
Like the President Obama, why he didn't get in there and start taking them type of things off.
Mhm.
The presidency means eliminating bad things that's in the system.
Right.
And not one president that stepped up and started doing that for us as black people.
Mhm.
They've been adding to that.
See, here's the thing about
That's-
that. They have. But see, when they do, they only do that when there's some benefit for whites out of that. For instance, affirmative action. Okay, affirmative action was put into law. Who's the biggest beneficiary of affirmative action?
Women.
White women.
And it wasn't even for the white women.
No.
That's what I'm
It
saying.
was
That's
supposed
what
to
they.
be for
That's
us.
what they do. That's how they do it. They'll put it in the structure,
Mhm.
and just because they put it in the structure for us, when it's time to go before that white person that says, "Okay, you got it," or you don't,
Mhm.
that's where the racism hits.
Mhm.
It's you can't get it. You black.
Right.
"Oh, sure, honey, you can have it. You're the
Mhm.
American.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the way we gotta just stop asking and begging for
Stop begging.
their
Stop begging.
period. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? If you're a warrior, be a warrior. If you're an
Mhm.
accountant, be an accountant. We got all of that in our own
Mhm.
people.
Word.
We have
Let
to
me
bring
get back
it
to
together.
these laws. Okay. In 1740, South Carolina Consolidated Slave Act prohibited slaves from raising or owning farm animals. This is during a time where America, or before America, the land was an agricultural society, and the only way for some people to earn a living if you weren't a merchant was to participate in agriculture. Okay? Now, I got this one right here.
Stopping that right now. Bill Gates buying up all the farmland and all
Yeah.
that. And
Yeah.
that's
You know
the way
what?
to be messy too. It's
Yeah.
a lot. It's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot. You know? This one is real crazy.
What?
In 1804, Ohio registration law required blacks to register and annually post a bond. You think about that. They had to register, and you know what it means to post a bond? You got to give up some money. So if you were a black person, you had to register and pay out some money just to be there. Just to be there. 1807, Maryland said, "Oh, we ain't with that." Here's what Maryland said in 1807. They passed a residence law that limited the residence of entering free blacks to 2 weeks. So if you were a free black in Maryland, and you were there longer than 2 weeks, they locked your ass up and sent you back into slavery. All right? This is the crap that we have been dealing with historically. Georgia literacy law in 1829 punished by fine and imprisonment anyone for teaching a black to read. South Carolina enacted licensing published prohibition, which denied free blacks any kind of business license. So you wonder why we are economically oppressed. Because they passed
It's
law.
designed to oppress us.
Right.
And
They
turn us
passed
into criminals
law
so they can lock us up
to keep us out of business.
and put us in their prison system.
Right. Because during those days,
Legal slaves.
especially right after slavery, okay, if you did not have a job or a home, and of course most of the slaves that were free from the plantation had nowhere to go, the government didn't give them nothing, okay, then you were a vagrant. And the southern states passed vagrancy laws. If you were unemployed, you were a vagrant, and you were caught on the street, you were sent to the penal colony, which is nothing but, and then your person, your time was sold to a plantation. Basically, you were just put back on the plantation in slavery. And this is what they did. Look, I read this last week, but I'll say it again. And I'm going to say it after I read this quote that I'm going to read at the end here. Freedom without opportunity is a devil's gift. And the refusal to provide such opportunity is criminal. That's from Noam Chomsky. Y'all don't know him, look him up. Now, one of the things, I don't know if you heard me say it,
Look.
bigots and racists and cowards, oh my. Because that's what the American police force is. Unless it's a group of them going up against a black person. Bigots and racists and cowards, oh my.
Yeah.
Right? And of course, I'm primarily talking about Uvalde, Texas. Well, what was it? The 13 children were murdered. Okay? And what did the cops do? Right? We talked about her last week, the young lady that went in there and got her child. Okay? And she talked about it. And you know what these, excuse me, you know what these people did? The Uvalde mom who escaped police interference and even handcuffs to run into the school and save her child, her children, there was two of them, from a mass shooter, has reported that Texas law enforcement has threatened her with probation violation, which means they're going to put her in jail, if she talked about her story to the media. They don't want her talking about this. They want this. These are which racist cowards and bigots, oh my.
I mean, that's what they do, man.
Yeah.
When will we stop worrying about what they do and start doing what we do?
Well, we got to worry about what they do as long as it keeps affecting us. You know? Look, last week it was on the teachers. All right? A doctor got killed. It was in Florida. I don't remember exactly where it was, right? And he was killed by a black person. But check this out. That black man was from the islands or somewhere. It was not a black person from America. All right? Let me tell you something about gun violence amongst blacks in America. Okay? There are some unwritten rules that most of those involved in street life follow. They do not go after or kill professional black people, college students, and people that are considered civilians as a rule. But when white supremacists shot up the black grocery store, all right? Now, when they shot up the school, it was on the teachers. Now it's on the doctors. You ain't heard her say a damn thing after they shot up that grocery store, after that fool shot up that grocery store, ain't nobody come out and say, we need to arm black people. Let me tell you something, people. Y'all want gun reform? Black people, start going out. You don't even have to buy a gun. But start registering to own a firearm. That would, let me tell you, that will change, that will bring about gun reform laws. You can believe that, because the last thing they want us to do is to take advantage of our Second Amendment rights, which of course is a scam. Second Amendment is a scam, all right? But the thing is, we have freedom of speech. The First Amendment.
Too.
And if the First Amendment don't work out, that's why we got the Second Amendment. That's from Dave Chappelle.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, the amendments can't be tampered with. That's what the Second Amendment does. Gives you the right to bear arms, so nobody can't take none of these rights away from you. Not even the tiny government. You see what I'm saying?
We're going to get deeper into that another time, because like I said, the Second Amendment is really a scam. Because the Second
America's
Amendment...
America's a scam.
but the Second Amendment is a scam, because what that's really about, okay, is, what is it, Congress will pass no law prohibiting the right to bear arms and the establishment of, what is it, a militia. Okay? That militia, hold on. That militia, that law, that amendment was really about arming white people to go against slaves, the enslaved, the free black, and those white peasants who were willing to stand up against, for instance, during George Washington's presidency, okay, they had the whiskey tax. Okay? Poor whites decided they wasn't paying this tax. Okay? Washington recruited an armed militia to put them down, and Washington said, this is what a militia is for. It had not a damn thing to do with the quote-unquote right to bear arms. It's a scam. It's BS.
I mean, the right to bear arms is to protect yourself, period, from a bear in the woods, and this ain't got nothing to do with it. It's, the right to bear arms is to be able to protect you, period, and your family. If you choose to be in a militia, which that we are the militia. The people is the militia because we voted them in to be able to start their whole organization. So once they get in the position, they exclude us from even being able to vote and say anything now. That's why the guns are put in effect, so they couldn't do that type of stuff. But we are soft now, and they are putting in things that scare you. America was built on fear. Understand that.
And violence.
And blood. You understand? So if we don't go all the way to that again, so they can bleed too, like we always bleed. Every day, someone's black is bleeding. You see what I'm saying? So if we're not putting our own organization together, we will never be able to be standing up on our own too and with our back straight. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We always would be stumped on and beat up on and pushed around. They ain't pushing around the Italians. They ain't pushing around the Spanish community. Okay then. We're
why
the
is that?
Indian community, the Asian community. They ain't doing that like that. The Indian community got stuff. They got buildings. They got money. They got things that they can invest in and spend their own money in. So that ain't the issue with that. It's us. We the only one that don't have nothing. You understand? So even the famous people and all the people that supposedly did all the acting and shows and getting all this money, they're not investing in themselves. Okay then.
No, they're investing in themselves and not investing in their community.
I mean,
In
themselves
the black
is us.
Well, okay.
They
I
not
see what you're
just
saying.
one black person.
Right.
It's us.
Yeah.
You understand? And that's what.
Well, see, here's the thing. Here's the thing about that, okay? Most of us are not looking to end white supremacy.
I know you say that all the time.
We're looking for a comfortable niche within the system. See, and as soon as your ass get complacent,
You shut up.
you are not going to advance.
Thank you, Master.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know?
right.
And you have to understand what Nsoromma says. I'm going to sum that up for you, what Dr. Clark teaches us. Power concedes nothing voluntarily. They are not going to volunteer to get off the back of black people.
You take their foot off your neck. They're not going to do that. They're
That's
willing
right.
to fight.
Right.
So why would I give up any? Why would I let you do anything? I got you in this move.
You know? And see, some things I kind of tell you crypto. Well, I'm going to tell you this right here. And I hope you understand. Okay? Malcolm said, if someone is speaking the language of violence, you can't speak French to them and expect to communicate. You understand that? Don't come speaking French to me if I'm talking about beating your ass. Boo!
I missed it. I'm late. Misuse, I'm late.
WHGE 95.3 FM.
You dig?
And the open eye.
844-944-3953. Hit us up.
Vaughn, F Trump. You think me? I know. I don't mess with Trump like that, but this mug in there right now, he can't remember his name. He don't know what he ate. He don't know what country is at war. He don't know if he's doing it to his wife or his daughter. He like, I don't understand it. And it just beat me up, son. Yo, I was looking at Biden the other day. He stuttered more than he say a word. I mean, yo, he going on 94. He high, isn't the president?
And talking about running for re-election.
And talking about re-election. And a gas is $7. And yo, with him, he only been in there 2 years. Come on, man. It's set up. America ain't got no money. We're in $1 trillion deficit, and they trying to make the American citizens make up for this money by making everything high, acting like ain't nothing around. So when they stuff do come around, they buy it out the stores, making this money come back quick. They hustling and selling, pimping us.
All right. Hey, WHGE 95.3 FM, Nsoromma going in on Joe Biden. And I don't blame him at all.
Oh, man.
Like I said, when you're dealing with the devil and the demon, sometimes you got to go ahead and take the demon Because the devil gonna burn your ass. That's right.
Right.
The demon gonna jam you up, but the devil gonna burn you. See, look. Okay, what was it? It was a children's museum.
Okay.
Okay, where they put out watermelon salad for black kids to celebrate Juneteenth. Okay. Oh my goodness.
How stereotypical is that?
Yep. Yep.
Now, should the kids been offensive and then took that
Offended?
same offended and took that same watermelon and spread it all on the stuff that was in there and went black on them? Would that have been a proper situation to let them know never do that again?
Yep. But you know what?
What?
It's interesting how the watermelons become a racial stereotype. Because before its subversion in the Jim Crow era,
Right.
watermelon symbolized black self-sufficiency. There's always some watermelon controversy coming up.
Right.
There's always that crap coming up. Always. Alright? The thing is, watermelon, one, slaves were allowed to grow watermelon and sell it, okay? And that money went to their funds to buy their freedom. And then after slavery, watermelon was an economic foundation for black Americans. And it was supporting, like many economic foundations, it was supporting education, it was supporting the inventions that black people were making. Watermelon was very profitable for black Americans after slavery.
But you know,
And so the whites said, wait a minute, we got to do something to slow that economic progress down. So what they did was, with the propaganda, they made eating watermelon make you an N-word. And it was successful because I know black people right now that are embarrassed to buy watermelon in the supermarket. Yes, a damn
let me
shame.
tell you something. They did that for the simple fact that, you know, being slaves back in the day, our ancestors was thorough, dog. They was thorough. They was bad. They was scientists. You know what I'm saying? When they out in the sun all that time with no shade, working, watermelon was the refreshment.
Right.
Watermelon was water to their body from them sweating all
Kept
day.
them hydrated.
So it kept them hydrated. Watermelon is a scientific hydrant. And that's what our people was doing in watermelon. They were refurbishing their bodies. And now to make it seem like a bad thing when watermelon is the best thing for you. Even the lime of the watermelon. You can eat everything on the watermelon you can eat. And the lime is the best part for you, the most nutritious part for you. But you don't hear none of that.
No.
Right. They don't want us to eat none of the things our ancestors ate because they were stallions.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes. And they understood diet.
Right. They understood, okay, if I'm being beat down, I know I can't eat wrong and then be killed. And when they come out here to say pick this up or grab this, I can't do it. I'm gonna get shot or whipped or killed. So they had to be healthy.
Right.
You know what I'm
That's
saying?
word. Look, I read this quote earlier from Noam Chomsky.
Noam Chomsky?
Noam Chomsky.
Oh, Noam.
Check him out. Noam. Yeah. And check him out. This is a brilliant dude. He's a brilliant white dude.
White?
Yeah. And he told the truth. He ain't scared to tell the truth. It's not a lot like him. And I'm address that too. Freedom without opportunity is a devil's gift. And the refusal to provide such opportunities is criminal. Now I have a quote from an interview that Dr. King gave, a brilliant interview in 1967. It was 55 years ago, 56, whatever. Okay? And Dr. King is explaining concepts we recognize today as structural or systemic racism and generational poverty. Okay? Here's what Dr. King said. You have to make a distinction between the people who are genuinely and absolutely committed in the white community on the question of racial equality. I must confess that I think they are a very small minority. I think the vast majority of white Americans will go but so far. It's kind of an installment plan on equality. And they are always looking for an excuse to go with so far. Now the interviewer asked, why are they looking for an excuse? What is it about the Negro? Every other group that came as an immigrant somehow, maybe not easily, but somehow got around it. Is it just the fact that Negroes are black? Dr. King responded, that's part of it. And growing, that grows out of something else. You can't thingify anything without depersonalizing that something. Understand that. If you use something as a means to an end, at that moment, you make it a thing and you depersonalize it. The fact that the Negro was a slave in this country for 244 years, that was a willful thing that was done. The Negro was brought here in chains, treated in very inhumane fashion, and this led to the thingification of the Negro. So he was not looked upon as a person. He was not looked upon as a human being with the same status and worth of other human beings. And the other thing is that human beings cannot continue to do wrong without eventually rationalizing that wrong. So slavery was justified morally, biologically, theoretically, scientifically, everything else. And it seems to me that white America must see that no other ethnic group has been a slave on American soil. That is the one thing that the other immigrant groups haven't had to face. The other thing is that color became a stigma. I'm going to talk about that. American society made the Negro color a stigma, and that can never be overlooked. So I think these things are absolutely necessary. The other thing is that America freed the slaves in 1863 through the Emancipation Proclamation of Abraham Lincoln, but gave the slaves no land or nothing in reality, as a matter of fact, to get started on. At the same time, America was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that there was a willingness to give the white peasants from Europe an economic base. And yet, it refused to give its black peasants from Africa, who came here involuntarily in chains and had worked free for 244 years. They were not willing to give them any kind of economic base, and so emancipation for the Negro was really freedom to hunger. It was freedom to the winds and rains of heaven. It was freedom without food to eat or land to cultivate, and therefore it was freedom and famine at the same time. And when white Americans tell the Negro to lift himself up by his own bootstraps, they don't look over the legacy of slavery and segregation. I believe we ought to do all we can and seek to lift ourselves by our own bootstraps, of course. But it's a cruel jest to say to a bootless man that he ought to lift himself up by his own bootstraps. And many Negroes, by the thousands of millions, have been left bootless as a result of all these years of oppression and as a result of society that deliberately made his color a stigma and something worthless and degrading. And you know what? That's Dr. King.
Listen, there's no group or race that has done more for our country than blacks.
You got that right.
And there's no group or race that has been treated worse than blacks. So, I mean, throughout all the rhetoric that's going on, we still walk with our head up.
Isn't that amazing?
We still have.
We are still resilient.
Right. It's like, okay, brush it off. You know, Jay-Z. Feeling like a soldier, you're going to brush his shoulders off. And we stay doing that.
And we stay doing
But
that.
now we have to brush our shoulders off and put our hands up and defend ourselves. You understand? It gets smaller in the game.
Actually, that's not new. In spite of the propaganda. See, this is what they don't want us to learn. What they don't want us to learn is that, okay, when these lynchings took place,
No one ever was arrested.
No. But I want to tell you this. These lynchings took place in areas where blacks were outnumbered. Where blacks were somewhere in any numbers, and they came with that lynching crap. Blacks got together, got their firearms, and fired their ass up and ain't nobody get lynched. I have several incidents where black men were about to get lynched and World War I veterans got their guns together and went and rescued that black person.
See, we don't have no more warriors like that. They
No.
take all the guns. They try to take your guns now. Even though we don't need guns, we can use knives, bricks, whatever. When they come, beat them up, take their guns. I mean, it's nothing to get weapons. You understand? It's about getting the heart to use a weapon.
See, we have to understand and remember who we are. All right, and we're getting into this a little deeper. And we have to understand that most white people had great difficulty imagining black people that have laid the foundation for civilization. Oh, they sincerely regret that Western racist propaganda has so narrowed their own worldview. But at this time, we deal with evidence, not propaganda. We don't deal with propaganda. We deal with the evidence. Anything we say, we can bring you the receipts for it. All right? With passion, but not preconceived notions of white supremacy. Okay? They are not insurmountable. We have the power, the strength.
And I was thinking, why are they so mad at us and we didn't even do nothing?
You know what? It's called fear.
Nah, I think it's called lack of a deficiency. Okay, our DNA has the melanin, and they don't have it.
No.
So they're
deficient. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that in itself, I make you mad at me.
Yeah, yeah.
When I see
because
you,
your
I'm
genes
supposed
are
to have this.
degenerative.
Right, I'm supposed to have that, and I don't got it. I'm mad at you right now.
No, you don't got it because we're not the same. Understand that. We are not the same.
And some say we are the alien. As blacks, we are the alien because we have this one more chromosome that most of the people, mostly all other nationalities don't have.
Don't have.
Right.
Because you know what? We are the only ones that are actually human. Okay? We're the only ones that don't have that Neanderthal blood in us. We are not the same. Right? I don't think we're aliens.
And that's scientific.
I think there's some kind of mutation that came off of us when those of us that went into Europe and dealt with those Neanderthals and mated with them and messed around and got this bastard thing.
Yo,
Lord
you crazy. You crazy.
Hey, that's what WHGE 95.3 FM. The open eye.
Y'all got.
As we always tell you, destiny determines who enters your life, but you decide who stays. Therefore, value those who value you. Don't treat those as a priority who treat you
As an option.
WHGE 95.3 FM. I'm Patrice Gibbs.
I'm Nsoromma in the building. You dig?
Y'all got.
See you next week.
Thanks for joining us.
Yo, Vaughn. Hey, Vaughn. Hey, yo. Your boy be going in, man. I just be riding on his back. Yo, I don't get off right here. Okay. Yo, hey, me say, what's good? I know. Yo. Hey, yo, good looking out. Thanks for tuning in. You know how we do. This is what we do. We gonna keep doing it. Hey, yo, Pat.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. I hope you learned something today. You know, I forgot a few of my notes, but I was still in the house one night. All right. Thanks for joining us on WHGE 95.3 FM.
Yaga! Nsoromma. Streaming everywhere. You dig?
All right. Hey, good show. Thanks, boy. Boy, I say